What is up, and welcome back to the Tomahawk Talk podcast. As always, I am your main man, Jeb Mays. Full squad tonight. We've also got our new member, Ken. Everybody knows Ken, Coach. Ken's going to be contributing with us a lot. He's going to be probably sitting in with us, taking over that third or fourth spot. We all have stuff going on, so we're really happy Ken's joining us on that part. Um, but we're going to bring you a pretty interesting episode, I think. We're going to be talking hitters today, breaking down what is kind of going to be happening this year and what you can expect from the Braves lineup this year. And so I'll turn it over to Ryan because he's kind of our hitting guru. What are you seeing so far in spring training, Ryan?
Well, I'm finally seeing these guys actually make the adjustments that they needed to for the past year and a half. Austin Riley, we did a deep dive on him earlier. His hip slide's a whole lot better. He's staying back behind the baseball. He's not gliding forward, so he's actually being able to read the pitches more effectively, which has resulted in a nice spring training for him. Same can be said for Michael Harris. I put a post out on Michael last year in his second half adjustments. Again, I don't really think it was anything to do with his hands. I get maybe look, if you want to say he was more comfortable in that position, I think that's fair. But I think a lot of Michael's problems was he wasn't loading into that back hip properly, and he was jumping forward at the baseball like a lot like Austin was doing. He was doing a hip slide. Ozzy, if you have noticed, Ozzy's standing up a little bit taller in his stance. I haven't done a huge dive into Ozzy yet, so I'm going to kind of wait and see what he looks like in a couple more weeks before I do that. But there's been some changes with him. Um, the guys look good. Matt Olson looks like Matt Olson. I love the adjustments Ronald made, opening his stance up a little bit to get to the inside fastball. That's been like his one kryptonite that he's had his entire career, but he's off to a nice start, hitting some inside fastballs pretty hard. So the offense is looking pretty good. And also Yaz. I forgot to mention Yaz. Yaz has had a really good spring training.
Yeah, they've also got him hitting lefties too, which is very interesting, I guess. I
That's going
mean,
to be a needed thing.
yeah, I mean you're gonna have that with Dubon starting as short. We can go around the horn now. I'll start with Ben. Ben, what are you kind of seeing so far with the hitters?
I'm loving what I'm seeing from Michael Harris. I mean, the walk rate has just skyrocketed in spring training, and I've said this since his rookie year. If Michael Harris can run just a 6% walk rate in the major leagues, I mean, look out because that guy will be a superstar. He will be a top 10 MVP candidate if he can just learn to not swing the bat, and that is something that's kind of weird to say, but if he learns to just take those pitches, which I really do think he's doing, he'll be a superstar. You got Ozzy who has looked not great in spring, in my opinion. But he had the walk-off home run yesterday in the WBC game, which was great to see. It was versus a righty as well, so that really does help the situation, makes him look a little bit better. And Austin Riley, I tweeted about it the other day, but watching him go up the middle and to right center with the pitch that's thrown, that is just a beautiful thing to see. I'm very excited for how these guys are going to bounce back. Matt Olson's going to be Matt Olson. Like Ryan said, Ronald being able to catch up to the inside fastball is going to be huge because that was historically one of the only holes in his swing. But the dude matches everything else. So like if he can hit that inside fastball now, the sky's the limit, and I wouldn't put it past him to have another 300 season with maybe 50 bombs. You know the rest of the guys,
50?
Yaz is doing great. Do what?
I said 50?
He's done 41 twice. All
Yeah.
right, and
I
I
love it. I
think
love it. I love
yeah,
it.
I mean, I'm not putting anything past Ronald. I've seen that man do some incredible things on a baseball field, so I can't put it past him. And then you have guys. I know people hate guys like Dubon and Ben Gamel and some of the lower ranked, even Jonah Heim, which I'm not as high on Jonah Heim, but he adds
I am.
I'm not, but he adds a much needed depth at the catcher position, especially until Sean Murphy comes back. Switch hitter, can hit lefties a little bit. At least he could in the past. And then guys like Ben Gamble and Mauricio Dubon and those guys. People have said that those are not ceiling moves, but they are because those guys will give you more production than Jared Kelnick, Alex Verdugo, Nick Allen, all the quote unquote depth guys that we had last year. And that's just, the end of it right there. They'll give you more production at the end of the day than those guys. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. And sorry, Drake Baldwin too. We know he's going to give you 270, 280 with 20 bombs and call it a day.
I'll pivot to Jose, man. What do you think of your boy? What do you think of your boy?
I mean, pretty much like just like Ryan and Ben were saying, man, like it's been really, really nice to see what we've seen so far from Michael Harris, you know. Obviously, we all know Michael Harris, he's always been a free swinger in his career. He's always been that person who, he does not see a pitch that he doesn't like, and that's just the type of ball player he is. But this year, what we've seen from him in spring training is that he's been more selective. He's been able to see the pitches better, and he's been able to take those pitches that might result in like a ground ball to second base, So just seeing that change from Michael Harris, like Ben was saying, if he can have like a 6% walk rate, I mean, that would just unlock a whole new level for Michael Harris because we all know what he can bring on the field. He's incredible on defense in center field, but um, just a little bit more plate discipline, like we were talking about. Michael Harris can be easily an MVP candidate with the type of talent that he has. Aside from him, Austin Riley as well. I feel like the last 2 seasons, if I'm being honest with you, we've seen Austin play injured a lot more than him playing healthy. So what we've seen from him recently hasn't really been like Austin Riley. So just getting him back, being healthy, and getting him back to his swing like we've seen so far in spring, I think that would be huge, huge, huge for this team. What else? I mean, what we were talking about when it comes to Drake Baldwin, like I think it's pretty clear to say what we've seen so far from him in spring training is we don't really see a sophomore slump. At least so far. Like that dude is just incredible. He wakes up and he's ready to hit. Kind of like what we were talking about with Markakis some years ago. I feel like Drake Baldwin has some of that in him. Like
I
that dude
like
is
that
just
comp. I like that
exactly
comp.
like that dude, man. He wakes up and he can hit 280, no problem. So Drake Baldwin, honestly, like if he can just keep doing what he's doing until Sean Murphy can get here, fill some DH slash catcher in some days. I mean, that would just be huge for this team. But so far, those have been my big takeaways from spring training.
Nice. I'll pivot to Ken. So I'm going to ask you, with Michael's resurgence, I guess, with walking a lot and his approach taking the ball the other way, Ryan, if you want, you can chip in too. Um, how does one fix that in an off season? Is it, a pitching machine that's just throwing dirt balls and just, the act of just looking and not swinging? Or how does one fix that simply in one off season?
Hey,
I think in the case of Michael, you started seeing desperation in Michael when they almost sent him to Gwinnett, and he really started listening to Tim Hires. And the first thing Tim did was change where his hands were at. We all know that. And I think part of that was to get him to lay off the pitch. The pitch that gives Michael in more trouble than any is the pitch that's about 2 inches off the plate outside. He couldn't lay off that pitch. What we're all seeing this spring is Michael's laying off that pitch. And to Ben's point, it should reduce his strikeouts, lead to more walks, and we want Michael Harris on the base pass. Michael Harris on the base pass is a run waiting to score easily. He can fly, and he's a smart base runner. So I think it's hires, and then what the offseason did, it got him away from all the noise. and Michael had a chance to finally just go and work and in it back to his old stance that he got to the major leagues with. And so he's had a few months here to really be comfortable. And I think that's what we're seeing this spring is that Michael has got a chance to finally go back to his old self. Look, I was friends with Sites, and what it did worked, but it's not something that Michael was comfortable with. And then what we're seeing is Michael back to his comfortable style, which has enabled him not to panic at the plate and swing at those pitches on the outside. I mean, Ryan, you can jump in here because I know he's breaking down the video on him, but that's what you're seeing. You don't see the panic on the outside pitches that we used to see, and Michael's laying off those pitches. And if he lays off those pitches and starts walking, that makes him bring the ball a little bit further in. And you can ask some of the lefties in baseball. I can't remember what Tanner Scott was one of them. He can take 97 on the black on the outside corner and hit it completely into the seats. And that's what we want. That's a good Michael. So I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, Ryan, but that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's more comfortable at the plate. Look, I don't think the hand's directly correlated with anything, but I think it made him more comfortable at the plate. And when you're more comfortable at the plate, you're not so jumpy in the box. Like Michael was really jumpy in the box last year. Like he was trying to go get the ball instead of staying back and letting the pitch get to him. So, and that's what you're seeing in spring training. He's in a rocking chair right now when he's at the plate. He's just in there going through his load, and when he's like, "Yep, that's the one," then he lets it loose. He's not jumping at the ball. He's not jumping forward. He's nice, control, and relaxed in his stance. His swing's been freaking beautiful. I mean, you can't teach a better bat path right now than Michael has. It's been fun to watch. So he's made the necessary adjustments that he's had to make, and he really worked his ass off in the off season, and now he's reaping the benefits from it.
Another thing about Michael too that I don't think a lot of people realize is just how strong he is. I mean, he is one of those guys. He can just flip his wrist and the ball's going to carry. Hitting it down the left field line. He could hit a home run opposite field just by flipping his wrist at it. And you can see some of the absolute bullets that he hits down the left field line just by doing that on fastballs. A guy who I have really kind of thought about with Michael, who had the same exact problem, who still it flares up from time to time, but for a couple of years there, it seemed like he had solved that problem for the most part. And it's a right-handed batter, but it's Austin Riley. You could throw Austin Riley a slider 3, 4, 5 inches off the plate, or a changeup 3, 4, 5 inches off the plate on the outside, and he would swing at it regardless of what he had seen the rest of the at bat. Did not matter. You could go attack him right there the entire at bat 3 times a game, and he would still swing at it. He figured that out, and he turned into the Austin Riley that we know and love today, which was a 30-plus homer Austin Riley with 90-plus ribbies. And Michael, I think, has the same potential. I don't think he has quite the raw power that Austin Riley has, but if he learns to lay off that outside pitch, like Ryan was saying, that would be a game changer.
Yeah. We can kind of stay on the same topic of, some guys just making some mechanical stuff and some changes. Ken, I know you really wanted to talk about this, the Dubon and Chipper thing.
Yeah, One of the things that in the mechanics that I'm finding interesting is, first of all, let's tell everybody where the Braves are at. Everybody gets on Twitter. The Braves ceiling has always been where the ceiling is. It hasn't changed. That's the core. We always talk about the core. What they did this offseason, they raised the floor. And they did that with guys like Dubon, who are better than Allen offensively. Gamble, who's better than
Kathy's going to be all over you.
Yeah, she will. Stuart Fairchild. They raised that part. And so with Dubon, it's interesting. Chipper could not wait to get to Florida. And the word is that was one of the guys he wanted to work with. So a few days ago, he finally got Dubon because he sees a lot in his swing and Chipper's right-handed swing, where his release point is. And he's not doing a tap. Remember Chipper did the toe tap left-handed, but right-handed he did. So he's talking to Dubon, and since that conversation, Dubon is 4 for 4 with a walk. And if Mauricio Dubon becomes a 740 to 780 OPS guy, that's exactly what we need to platoon with Yaz in left field. We have one of the most dynamic left fielders in the game when Yaz is hitting from the left side and Dubon's hitting from the right side. So, it's interesting that Dubon finally has somebody that can see something in his swing, because what you hear him say a lot is he didn't have a lot of belief in San Francisco. That's why he bounced around. And to give you an example of that, I fight with some of the I've always wanted Matt McClain here, but Matt McClain has struggled in Cincinnati, and so Braves fans want to, you know, turn on him. But it's because the Reds had his head mixed up. And I think Dubon's his conversation with Chipper, and I think Chipper's going to be a big part for Dubon to have success. And also, remember with Chipper, what did Chipper do in his career? He went to left field. So he was an infielder, a shortstop who had to play left field. I think that'll also help. I think it's just the whole mental aspect of Dubon. And I think the Braves have shorted how good Dubon can help this team this year. I think Mauricio Dubon will be a big part of this team, especially when Hassan Kim gets back. And he can platoon with Yes.
But going off of that, you're talking about if just hypothetically, if Dubon becomes a 740 to 780 OPS guy, I'm not taking that out of the lineup. I know Hassan Kim is making $20 million, but I don't know what Hassan Kim's going to give me. And if I have Mauricio Dubon throwing up a 750 OPS from the shortstop position, I'm not taking him out. Even I don't care if Hassan Kim is making $20 million. That's a 1 year deal. Who cares? But I don't know about. I guess you could platoon him in left field when there's a lefty on the mound, but that's about it. Other than that, I'd want Dubon at shortstop if that's the
Well,
case.
I understand, Ben, but we always start all these conversations like the Braves. One thing that my friend got buried for as a manager is he'd always say things work itself out. So if he's off to that right there, we don't know where the next injury will be, and it allows them to have a lot of maneuverability, because you know what Damon can do? He can play anywhere on the field.
Yeah.
So we can make him a 740 to 780 guy. If somebody gets banged up for a 15-day IL stint, you got your replacement.
See, no, Ken. That's not what we do. All right, the Braves don't have 15-day IL stints. They have people with colons falling out of their asses, and they're out for the rest of the season. That's it.
Yeah,
We don't have
it's
turf toe or whatever.
yeah, it's always 60, nothing less.
I just want to point out I wasn't the first one to cuss on this podcast.
Yes, you were. You definitely did say the A word.
Yeah.
You said ass earlier in the episode.
Yeah, Ryan.
Did I?
Mm-mm-mm.
See, I don't even notice it no more.
Shame.
Ben,
shame.
I would also like to point out it's not just the injuries; it's also that PED thing that just can't seem to escape.
No.
us.
That only
needle in the butt?
bites one person. That only bites one dude, and it continuously bites him. And
No,
he's just-
Ben, you forgot. AA's throwing the needles at players in the locker room.
Yeah.
I forgot about
Oh
that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's on me. That's on me.
Hey, you know what? You know what's funny? The Braves even feel it too. Joey Wentz stepped over the bag or hit the player wrong today, and it scared them so much they took the cart out to get him off the field. You thought he had blew his ACL or broke his leg, and Chad texts me. He's walking around the clubhouse.
Oh my goodness.
Like, what is
Hey,
going
better
on?
be safe than sorry, Chad. Better be
Yeah.
safe than sorry.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
They better do that to everybody when they're coming off the field after 3 outs. All 162. I don't care.
I mean, honestly, we should just be grateful that ball that hit off of Aaron Bummer's foot early in the season just didn't take him out the whole season last year. That's where our luck is.
Brother, good Lord.
All right. So, all right, we've kind of talked about all the hitters now. If we kind of go all across the board and we can all put our 2 cents. You've got Olsen, you've got Ozzy, you've got Riley, you've got Ronnie, you've got Michael, you've got Drake. So you've got your core guys. You kind of know what you're going to expect there. We can go a little bit more in depth if we want, but I think everybody knows what you're going to get. So basically, right now you're looking at shortstop, left field, and DH. Okay, you kind of filled left field with Yaz and Dubon. I mean, if you can platoon those and it works out fine, hey, that works. And then once Ha-Sung Kim comes back and takes over short, and if he's looking like he did at the end of last year, hey, that's fine too. You also have Sean Murphy coming back too. So, you know, I'll ask Ken because he kind of has the most experience, constructing this kind of stuff, lineup wise and whatnot. What is to be expected, I guess, when all of the position guys come back from injury, and what comes next?
Well, hopefully we're all healthy, and an AA has to make some serious decisions with some of the guys who don't have their their options. Because the fact of the matter is Gamble and some of them have played their way to be on a major league ball club. So I think that if we get off to a good start, there's no reason to rush Murphy or Kim back. And that's the worst thing we can possibly do. So we need a good April. I think that'll be the timeline on how far quick they get back. You're hearing that Kim is quicker than Murphy right now. But to Ben's point, if this lineup is raking, I don't think you just put Kim back in the lineup just because he's making 20 million a year. I don't think it matters. So I think that the biggest thing that they can do is just let it play out the first month. And I think that's what they'll do. And I know everybody wants them to make a move, but if he's to make a move, then right now, with 2 weeks left in spring training, he's got to make a decision on who he's going to take to Atlanta. And I don't think they know who exactly they're going to take to Atlanta. I think they've all played well enough to get themselves there. I think Gamble's played well enough. And then Farmer's played well enough. Dominic Smith's played well enough. Heck, Jerome Kersey Jr.'s had a good spring. There are a lot of guys who've had good springs, including the kid, John Hill. John Hill not being sent to the minors yet tells you they're going to make sure where they're at in April. And the reason why is because they can keep waiting because we still got 2 weeks of ball games going. And as Joey Wentz proved, we're one trip over a base from any of them to have to make a decision. So John Hill is still on this roster because they see the talent. It doesn't mean that John Hill is going to make the roster, but you're asking me, what are they thinking right now? Is they're thinking we have this core, but how are we going to supplement this core right now? And they want to take Jonah Heim to Atlanta, but he's got 2 more weeks to prove it's Jonah Heim over Chad Trump. You know, so we'll see. We'll see how they go. But that's what they're thinking right now is how can we get through April to get back to Kim and Murphy? And if we're good enough, then we can let Kim and Murphy take their time. That's what they're thinking.
So we're one ingrown toenail away from John Hill being the rookie of the year, is what I'm
You're
hearing.
you're a Mauricio
100%.
you're a Mauricio Dubon going around first base getting hurt from John Hill being on this roster. Yes.
No, no, no. These are not the type of injuries we have. I'm talking like washing dishes at home and your hand just starts like cramping up. I'm talking like mowing your grass and all of a sudden your leg gives out. These are the injuries that we have as the Atlanta Braves. Jokes aside, going off of what Ken was saying, John Hill, guys, he has a 913 OPS in the spring. Yes, 16 at bats over 13 games. 3 for 16, so his average is only 188. However, his OPS is 913 with 563 slug. MLB ready? No, not quite. But he could be here faster than we think.
Yeah, he's better than Luke Williams.
He still needs to get a lot of time down in Double A before he can come up. I think he's only had a very short stint at Double A the very end of last year, and he was pretty much overmatched in that short stint. I think he's a very good hitter, but the last thing I want them to do is be forced to use him in a situation like they had Didier Fuentes in last year, Which, granted, I don't think that was necessarily. I don't think it's going to ruin Didier Fuentes at all, but it is not good for a player's psyche, especially a young player's psyche, to come up and fail as miserably as Fuentes did last year. With that being said, going back to Fuentes, he looked like a brand new guy the other day. I mean, he was having 17 inches of IVB on that fastball with throwing it 98 miles an hour. He looked like Spencer Strider circa 2022, 2023 on the mound. And that's a kid I'm very excited for. But I don't think, going back to John Heel, I don't think he's going to be ready. And I really hope. I'm sure they would probably use Lodis before they use John Heel.
That's not true, Ben. I just tell you, it's not true. They're going to use the best player because the Braves need to go to the playoffs this year. It's the reason they gave Didier a shot. It's the reason why in was it 23 or 22 when they had to go to get Michael out of Double A. Michael hadn't had a lot of bats either. They're going to put the best player on the field. I don't think John Hill's going to break roster with us, but the reason why he's not been sent already is because he's a hell of an athlete, and they're not willing to do that until they're sure they get through this spring healthy. They're just not.
That's fair, but on the other hand, why has he not played a ton of shortstop, and why has he only got 16 at bats in 13 games?
Putting him in left.
He, well, I mean, I don't think he's played left this spring. So I'm not saying, by no means am I saying you're wrong, Ken. I know you're right. I'm just saying it would make more sense to me for him to load up on at bats if that was really the plan for him to see more major league pitching, so he could get used to what he would see.
Yeah, it's 100%. I'm not saying he's going. That's what I said. I've already said he's not breaking the roster. The question was, what are they doing right now? They're making sure they got all the players who they think might can win them a ball game in April still here. The fact of the matter is, and I don't like to crap on this kid because I like the kid personally. The reason, also because he had to go to the WBC, but part of the reason Nacho was one of the first guys out the door is you can see the talent difference on the ball field. You don't need to have to see so many at bats in spring. You see it on the backyard. People don't realize they played what the Braves played today, their 15th, 16th game in the spring. They played double that on backfields. They played double that. Like when Strider missed his start and Twitter was blowing up because Bo decided to write a thing, the radar gun was off back there. That was why maybe they were hiding him. No, that's what they do. They play a lot more games off the TVs than you realize. Matter of fact, when there's pitchers, you know this, Ben, when they pitch, and they don't think they get enough pitches in because they're so good, they make them go throw on the backfield to a couple of kids so they get their number of pitches in because they don't know how many pitches they're going to throw in the game. So if they go through an inning and only pitch 8 pitches, say Dylan Lee only throws 8 pitches, but they want him to throw 20, he'll go on the backfield and throw the other 12. So John Hill's not making this roster, but the question was, what are they thinking? And I know this: John Hill not being sent to the minor league camp yet says they're high on this kid.
Well, I'm high on him too. Don't get me wrong. I have him as I think it was third ranked prospect in my top 10 list.
You got it
So
ranked correctly.
he is, yeah, very, very good.
What is his faults, I guess?
Defensively.
He has average power, average to slightly below average power. And apparently, I guess, according to Twitter, the Braves are, I don't know if Ken knows this or has heard the same thing or not, but they say that they're concerned about his ability to stick it short. I haven't seen it. I think he's very athletic. He's definitely athletic enough to play short as a major leaguer. His arm is about average-ish to maybe slightly above average. There's definitely better shortstop arms in the system, but the biggest knock against him is his power and potential game power. I mean, they project him to be a 10 to 15 homer guy, but I could possibly see 15 to 20, and it would be, he can be a good hitter. I could see him realistically at his peak. I could see him being like a 280, 280 hitter, getting on base at a 360, 370 clip, slugging 430, 440 ish, and stealing 35, 40 bags. That's if he gets his peak.
But you're gonna have that. I mean, he's what, 12?
He's just turned 20, I think, or if he's not, he might still
Might
be
be
19.
19 still.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think
So
he's
he's
still
so
19.
he's 13. Got it.
Jeb, then you're like 4. Okay, calm down. I think John Heal's got more pop in there than a lot of people are giving him credit for, and he's got good poolside pop. He's gonna pop you 15 to 20 just poolside. Where he will take off in his big league career is when he learns to drive the ball the opposite field, and I think he can.
And that could come.
Yeah,
That could come with getting older and stronger and his body filling out. I mean, he's still a kid,
100%.
even he could fill it out. I just personally, I just see him being a 15 to 20 homer guy as a whole. Um, Maybe I'm wrong, maybe he hits more, but I would love to be wrong in that sense.
It also helps when you have one of the better hitters who used to hit backside a lot, helping coach hitting.
Well, and I know, and all that's really true, but the Braves have proved the number one thing you play shortstop in Atlanta is you got to be able to play defense. And I'm just telling you,
Yep.
Ben, they're not
Yep.
100% sure defensively he's good enough.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard, and they're not 100% sure about it, but like I said, from what I've seen of the kid, and I watched, 100, 110, 120 minor league games last year. Every game that I saw with John Heel in it, he looked the part. But then again, there's a reason I'm sitting over here, and they got major league scouts doing their job.
Well, the thing they're worried about is how's he going to adapt to the big stadium. There's a lot more stuff going on in a major league game than a triple A game or a double A or single A game. So I think he'll definitely get there. But yeah, so, it's going to be fun. Be fun to see, and I'm sure they're going to want to keep his clock not starting. He's
Hmm
20, so there's no rush to get him here.
No.
If they had their offer, he would not be here until at least 27 or 28.
Yeah, I mean, and if he was a pitcher, they probably would have brought him up 3 years ago. But we can pivot. I know we kind of wrote down a little bit. We did a little bit of homework before we got on here. I'll share my screen right now so anybody who's watching can look. I'm gonna go first since I'm the fearless leader. We can talk lineups. So on the screen right now, you can see for those of you watching, for those of you listening, versus right-handed pitchers. The way I've constructed the lineup, I've got Ronald, Drake, Riley, Olson, Yaz. And I've got Yaz platooning DH in left field, Ozzy, Dubon, and then a combination of Eli White, Dominic Smith, and Ben Gamble as your DH, or White is in left if Yaz is DH, and then I've got Harrison center.
So you
Versus
just threw
left.
the entire AAA roster in.
Yeah. Well, I didn't throw Luke Williams in there for because he'll probably be pitching bullpens. But and then lefties. I mean, it's pretty much kind of the same. I flipped Yaz and Ozzy because Ozzy's better versus lefties, anyways. And then I moved White. Or no, yeah, it is pretty much basically the same. And then when fully healthy, I've got it Ronald, Drake, Riley, Olson, Ozzy, Yaz / Dubon, Murphy, Kim, and Harris. What do we think?
Like it.
I forgot about Eli White. I might have to make an adjustment to mine. Isn't that
Yeah,
sad?
I kind of did
about
too.
Eli?
I forgot about Eli too.
The,
He was a good hitter last year against lefties too. He had 100 WRC plus. I mean, he was league average against lefties to add with his defense and speed. So yeah, that's on me. I
But
forgot
wait
about
a
it.
second. Ryan, Ben, I got a bone to pick with you guys. How can you forget about the best Major League Baseball player in the state of Tennessee?
That's
You're right.
crazy.
I mean, he
That's
hit. Yeah,
blasphemy.
That's
Buddy has hit
insane.
the most home runs in the state of Tennessee in a major league uniform. So,
This is true.
we're getting
You
a bad
guys
boy
flame
back
him on
there.
Twitter.
and I think the most home runs ever at a racetrack.
This is true.
That does sound right.
Dang, that should have been in my nuggets that I've been trying to do research for. Eli White looking to become the all time extend his all time racetrack home run leaderboard?
Uh, Ken, I mean, yours pretty much looks the same as mine.
That,
You've
that,
got Gamble in there.
it got Gamble. I think
Yeah,
Gamble's
you've
done
got.
enough. I think Gamble's going to be the DH, and I think he's done enough. I got in an argument on in DMs today about that with Don Smith, whatever. And I think Ben brings more speed. One of the things that with my lineup is I think that they're going to try to have a little bit more speed. Now against left-handed pitching, go back up to mine. Left-handed pitching, I do think Farmer's going to be the DH. I think Gamble and Farmer have done enough to flip-flop them, and then you can play White and left field. And so I like that rotation. I'm 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 going with what Walt is showing everybody. Everybody wants to put Harris in the 9 hole. Harris is probably going to hit in the 7 hole, and because of the extra pop. And then you can always put somebody with some speed in front of Ronnie, which Dubon and White would do that. So you still have that double kind of lead off. When they get fully healthy, I think Baldwin is going to hit second behind Ronnie. Olson, Riley, Yaz, Harris, and even healthy, I think Gamble's done enough. I think Gamble's going to be our DH against a right-handed pitcher with Albies and Kim. I think Kim will then end up hitting ninth in that. And Kim's a very good base runner, so you can hit in front of Ronnie. Then against the left-hander, I'll go Ronnie, and I'll hit Kim in the 2 hole and have Olson, Riley, Baldwin catch or DH, and Albies will play second, and then whoever's not catching or DH will bat in the next hole. So I put Murphy there, Harris, and I'll have Dubon play left field. This gives me a way to have somebody fast in front of Ronnie in every lineup, a good runner. And I think Walt really wants that. One of the things that I've noticed this year is part of the reason I got into the argument in the DMs. The reason why Gamble goes over Dom Smith is the team has shown all spring and talked about all spring they want to run more. And Gamble's a better base runner and faster base runner than Dominic Smith. So that's where I go. That's how my lineup looks.
We'll move on down. Ryan, you care to explain
I
what this
mean,
monstrosity is right here?
what do you mean monstrosity? First off, sir, thank you kindly. Ronald and Baldwin at the top as a 1-2 combo, I don't think that needs any explanation. I want Ole in the 3 hole against a righty, Riley batting behind him, then Yaz, Ozzy after him, Michael Harris in the 7 hole. Heel, if he's up, I could see him being there, but I think Dubon's going to be the shortstop. And then DH, I got Dom Smith. He's had a very nice spring training. But I do get the point of what Ken is talking about with having more speed down there with Gamble. Left-handed pitching, I'm keeping it kind of the same. Ronald and Drake at the top. I flip flop Riley and Olson just to break up the lefties in the middle. Ozzy hitting behind Olson. Michael Harris behind Ozzy. Dubon in the 7. I'm going to keep Yaz at DH just because I want him in there and I want to see what he can do against the lefty for a little bit. And I don't think that's unreasonable for 30 games. And then we got Eli White and left field. And then fully healthy. Ronald, Drake either at catcher or DH, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Ozzy Albies, Sean Murphy, catcher DH, Yaz and Dubon, depending if it's righty or lefty, and then you got Michael in center and HSK at short to fill it out.
I
Yeah,
kind of like these.
hitting Kim in front of Ronald is really interesting. He takes a lot of walks too, so I love having somebody in there that we know can get on base in front of Ronnie. So I like that a lot, Ron.
That was my thinking with it.
Yeah.
I scrolled down and I just had a jump scare. Ben, you're batting Olson in the 2 hole. Please explain. I'm not hating. Just let us know what you're cooking with.
I mean, I like the lefty lefty back to back against righties. I think Ronald obviously should be in the leadoff spot no matter what. Dude just has mashed in the leadoff spot his whole career, so obviously going to put him there, in both lineups. And then Matt Olson hitting right behind Ronald. Listen, I know you generally want your best hitter over. You generally want your best hitter overall hitting in the 2 hole because they're going to get the most at bats. But I like Matt Olson in the 2 spot to be able to drive Ronald in whenever he hits a leadoff double or, and Olson walks a lot too. So being able to get on base and have 2 runners on, or once Ronald hits a solo home run to lead off the game, you'll have Olson there to walk. I just really like Olson in the 2 hole. Then follow that up with Baldwin right behind him and sandwich Drake right in between Olson and Riley. I think that would be a very deadly combination. Give Baldwin just a much needed protection, and then also help Olson get some protection there too. And then you have Yaz hitting fifth right there with Dubon at short, and who'd I put? Dominic Smith at the DH spot, which again I agree with Ken. Ben Gamble might get that spot just because of the athleticism. And then put Ozzy at second with Michael Harris the second at in the 9 hole. I've just always loved Michael in the 9
Yep.
hole. I've always loved it. Loved him there. I know Ken says, we're doing. He was doing what Walt has been showing us and putting Ozzy or Michael Harris at the 7 hole. That's just not me, man. I've just always really liked Michael and in the 9 hole. I think given the protection from Ronald right behind him, and plus Michael's speed on the base paths and everything, I think that gives him a good, you know, good spot for him. Then against lefties, I have Ronald, Riley, Olson, Ozzy, who shouldn't need really any explanation. I know Ozzy had a down year against lefties last year, but hell, his career has been phenomenal against them. And then Baldwin, Kyle Farmer at short with Jonah Heim at DH. Just to kind of get back-to-back right-handed batters. And the only reason I picked Heim over somebody else is because Heim is a switch hitter. I think regardless of if, late in the ball game, if the other team was to bring in a lefty, you still have, or I'm sorry, a right-handed bat, you still kind of have Jonah Heim being able to hit, lefty and breaking up that monotony of the right-handed bats over and over again. And then Dubon in left with Michael in center again. So I'm trying to alternate, obviously, I liked that, alternate the lefty righty as much as possible, but while also putting my best lineup out there that I
Now
know of.
your fully healthy lineup kind of is in line with all of ours, right? Like you're not putting Sean Murphy in the 2 hole when he comes back, or
I was thinking about putting him leadoff, to be honest with
yeah.
you.
I mean that would work.
That tracks. That tracks.
Yeah, I was gonna put Ronald hitting seventh, and then Sean Murphy hitting leadoff, with Matt Olson hitting ninth, and yeah, it was gonna be just hell. I might put Olson on the bench. Be completely honest.
Mauricio Dubon cleaning up.
Cleaning up, brother.
Just
um,
thinking outside the box.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
you gotta be creative with this kind of thing. All right.
yeah. Jose, we got yours pulled up right here, man. Kind of go through it and explain too.
All right, so for me, I have obviously Ronald Acuna leading off versus righties. Then we got Drake Baldwin, Matt Olson in the 3 hole, Austin Riley batting cleanup, Mike Yastrzemski, left field slash DH, because DH is going to be pretty interchangeable, at least in the first little bit of the season. Ozzy Albies, Dubon slash Hassan Kim when he comes back, and then another outfield slash DH spot with Eli White, Dom Smith, whoever basically, Dubon, and then Michael Harris in the 9 hole. I'm with Ben. I like Michael Harris in the 9 hole. I think he gets a lot of protection with Ronald Acuna batting leadoff in the number 1 in the lineup. So I really like Michael Harris in the 9 hole. Gets a little bit more pressure off of him as well, at least to start the season. Just because, if you get on, there's a good chance that Ronald Acuna is going to drive you in. So then against left-handed pitching, obviously Ronald leading off. Then I have Austin Riley, Matt Olson. Ozzy Albies, cleanup, obviously, versus left-handed pitching. Drake Baldwin, again, Dubon slash Hassan Kim when he comes back. And then Mike Yastrzemski, again, left field slash DH spot with Eli White, Don Smith slash Dubon, whoever is basically batting the best at the time. And then Michael Harris in the 9 hole.
So I noticed you put Riley in the two hole versus lefties.
I did.
Fun fact: Austin Riley has reverse splits in his career. He has historically hit righties better than he has lefties.
This is true.
What is your
My reasoning
it
behind that?
jumps yeah, it jump scared me more than Ben's.
Nah, I was just thinking the matchups. Ben is right. He has batted better against right-handed pitching in his career. But I was just thinking the matchups, right-handed batter versus left-handed pitcher. Austin Riley, I have faith in him this year. I think I've seen enough from him in spring training that he'll be a lot better of a batter, fully healthy, not really worrying about the hip or whatever injury. Um, I have faith in him. I think he would do well in the two hole. However, versus left-handed pitching, I mean, to be honest with you, I also wouldn't mind seeing Drake Baldwin in the two hole. I think he's shown enough that he can bat against righties, against lefties. That doesn't really matter. And then you can slide Austin Riley to the number 5 spot in the lineup. Either one would work.
Yeah.
Hey,
All right,
Uh,
stick
real
with me
quick,
here.
Jose, on the Austin Riley. You're talking about the injury. Let you know about a discussion that I had with one of his family members. Um, and you heard Austin say, I think, in a few interviews, he's never started his workouts quicker than he did this year. And what his family members said was that he has never seen Austin work as hard as he has this year. And I think he takes his injuries as maybe something to do, whether it's some core work in the off season or whatever. But uh, and also you can tell Austin's carrying a little bit more weight this year than he did last year, and he's doing everything. So his whole off season changed because of the injury. So it's going to be interesting to see how hits this year with a longer off season. I think him and Michael both are really their heads are into this to really this is their year. They're going to show everybody how good they really are. Michael sees himself as the top 3 center fielder. Austin definitely sees himself as the best third baseman in the game, and they need to go prove it this year. And they're working the off season. You can see it on the ball field. I know everybody likes Austin. We got a guy on our little Twitter here. He kills Austin, and the next bat he always hits a home run. So I want him to do that all year long. And you know who you are there. And Mr. Burner, every game, kill Austin so he hits a home run in the next at bat. He's done that all spring. So, but yeah, you're seeing that what you're seeing is he wants to have a healthy year, and he did a lot of extra work this all season to make sure he stayed healthy because his whole thing was in his core. And then he went in there and did the surgery stuff, and they found out he had another injury with it as well. So he should be healthy this year and have a big year.
I mean, I didn't know that about what was said about Austin Riley, him starting up earlier this year. I was just going off of his hair, man. As soon as I saw his new hair, his new facial hair, I was sold. I was like,
It's
all right, man.
yes.
It's
Austin
almost
Riley means
Yes.
business this year,
oh
man.
my God, it's beautiful like mine.
hey, real quick, Jose, can I ask you just a random off the wall question that's been burning my britches for a couple
Yeah,
days now? Who the hell does Austin Wells think he is playing for the Dominican Republic in the
buddy,
World Baseball Classic?
buddy. Austin
That
Wells
man's
is a
whiter
known.
than anything I've ever seen. All right, he's
He's
Irish.
whiter than Jeb.
You see
Yes,
Ben. You see Ben.
he's whiter than the leprechaun on the Lucky Charms box.
You see Ben. Real ball knowers know that Austin Wells is a Dominican man. He always has been. His mom is Dominican, or
Tell him about his mom, Madre.
He has
Yes,
Oh,
Dominican
she is
heritage
for
on his
real
mom's side.
Dominican.
yes, his mama.
He is.
Yeah, for real.
I did not know that. I've just been like it's been burning my britches for the past couple of days. All right, I've been really concerned. I saw Austin Wells on the Dominican Republic lineup, and I'm like, who the hell does he think he is?
That's
Buddy,
like
Austin
Chapman trying to play
Wells.
for Great Britain.
I
Jazz?
mean,
That's wild.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Chad is from the Bahamas, so his family's
yeah,
from Great
Yeah.
Britain. So, yeah.
I just thought it was funny when they posted the thing where they denied him, and it said not British and Aroldis
hilarious.
Chapman.
You talking about
Oh
Aroldis
my God.
Chapman? Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought you
yeah.
said Jazz Chisholm for a second.
No, no. Um, we'll pivot here, kind of winding down. We'll go down the line, and there are a couple people who have the same answers, so this will be pretty easy. But who is one player that we cannot lose? Who is one player on this team that the Atlanta Braves need? And me and Jose have the same guy, and it's this man right here. It's Ronald. I think I'll go first, and then I'll let Jose go. But Ronald is the spark plug to your lineup. I know Ken, me and you have talked about when Riley goes, the Braves go, but I also kind of think it's the same way with Ronald too. You start a ball game off 1-0. That says something. You're putting your foot on the gas. I just think, with the power, the speed, he's not really that great in the field, but just the whole dynamic of Ronald Acuna Jr. in this lineup, especially at the leadoff spot, I think it is the most need, basically, going into this season.
I mean, same for me. I think if you see the Braves records on games that Ronald has played versus games that Ronald has not played, it's pretty clear. Ronald is the difference maker for the Atlanta Braves. When he plays, it's just a completely different team. The energy is different. Obviously, the speed is there, the power is there. He literally changes the team, and you can see that on the first day that he came back. That game against the Padres, he hit the home run, first pitch, and all of a sudden the energy was just different. Ronald Acuna is just the guy.
It's a shame we have non-ball knowers on this podcast.
Oh, we can let's look. I'm looking at the list right now. We'll pivot to Ben. We'll pivot to Ben. So Ben is saying that it's Matt Olson.
Yes.
So explain, Ben. It's not a bad take. I think with the core guys we have, we've seen it the past 2 years, when one of them's gone, it's a huge hole.
Well, originally what I said before I read the question, because you said hitter and position player. Originally, I had said Spencer Strider, who I think is arguably the most important piece in the Braves organization or roster right now, just because of the lack of starting pitching depth and all that. But I digress. Matt Olson is probably the most pivotal position player because you know Ronald was the largest piece to this Braves team in 2021 up until the point he got hurt. And then after that, AA had to scramble and go get outfielders to kind of somewhat replace his production. Now, I think that an outfield bat is much more easily obtainable than a first base bat who can give you 30 homers, 100 RBIs with 270 batting average and gold glove defense at first base.
We have Dom Smith.
No.
Dom Smith is not going to give you any of that. All right. Dom Smith would look like me going up there to hit against a lefty. All right. And I like Dom Smith. But I'm just saying, with Matt Olson, the kind of player that he is, I mean, he's the real deal. And I think he's the most pivotal piece to this Braves year.
I mean, since you're mentioning Olson as well, let me jump in because I also love Matt Olson. As I've said, I love my first baseman, so I'm going to brag on him.
Yeah.
His defense, we absolutely cannot lose that on first base either.
No. And I'm going to tell you something. I've seen that swing now for 20 years. It's so beautiful. I'm almost teared up a little bit, and he's special. He's special.
Yeah. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Ronald because that man right there is probably the obvious choice out of anybody. But in order, one, to just be a little bit different, and two, we've kind of seen this team take off before getting without Ronald and through no fault of his own.
Yep, Ben is absolutely getting kicked right now.
Now, we are getting into a whole new subject here because it took, I mean, the baseball gods, it took Jock Peterson becoming Barry Bonds Part 2, Eddie Rosario, the second coming of Lou Gehrig, his hitting ability. I mean, it just took an act of God, honestly, in 2021 when Ronald went down. So,
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not
Good
wrong, but
times, Chad. Good times.
I still think that offensive production is a little bit easier to obtain than who Matt Olson is
Yep.
as a player.
I'll agree on that.
You don't have many superstar first basemen out there that you can just go pluck off a tree.
Yep.
Right.
And the
Or
fact of,
anybody who could platoon to equal even close to that, you know?
and the fact of the matter is if we did get to the midway break, there is Byron Buxton out there. If you got desperate enough, you go get him. He's not Ronald Acuna, but he's a lot closer to Ronald than whatever we can get to play first base this
Yeah.
tonight.
There you go.
We'll jump to
I mean,
Ken.
For God's sakes, I'm sorry, but we had Scott Thorman manning first base for a year. All right. And if you don't know who Scott Thorman is, bless your heart. All
I
right.
don't.
That's all
We
I
had
got to
Casey
say.
Kochman too.
I don't know who Scott. I don't know who Scott Thorman is.
Scott Thorman was the Braves' first baseman in 2007. He was
While Jeb was waddling around in diapers.
Yeah, he was awful, brother. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. Sure, he's a treat to be around, but he was awful.
We'll pivot to Ken. Ken, you put down Drake Baldwin. Now I love this pick. You know I love the Drake. Drake is my guy. Explain to us, explain to us your reasonings and
Well, first of all, um, Drake is really improving defensively, and I think Drake is, if he has the year I think he's going to have this year, is going to be a top three catcher in the game this year. And the reason I think he's the one player we cannot lose is because once you have the injuries that Sean has had the last 2 years, that we know it's been kind of ongoing, until he gets back, I just don't know if this team is a playoff team with Jonah Heim, Chadrick Swamp, and Sandy Leon being the catcher. And you can say, well, maybe the same thing. We already discussed that with Matt and Ronnie. But we all know the whole argument on Twitter is about Murphy's contract. And me and Ben get on there all the time and remind everybody, doesn't matter about all of that. Murphy, even if all his weaknesses, is still one of the top 10 to 12 catchers in the game. Catching position is very weak. If Drake were to go down, we would have to have no other problems in our team if Drake gets hurt. Or if he has a sophomore slump, you watch us struggle a little bit too. We've already all put him in the 2-hole, 5-hole, and he's a major piece of this, and we need him to take the next step. And I just think he's the one guy. I could have picked anybody that we got named on this list. I think we hit the big four that have to be healthy this year and have big years. I just wanted to give Drake some love because look at that beautiful swing. Man, he can just hit the ball the other way. And when there are runners on base, it's kind of like for the longest that you felt like Dansby. When runners got on base, Dansby had better swings, and you felt like the ball was somebody was going to score. Y'all remember that when Dansby would bat, he was so much better. That's how I feel about Drake. More people are on base, the better he hits. Like he focuses. He has some of the best swings, and that's the reason why I think he's the one guy that we can't lose. That is just beautiful right there. He can absolutely rake, and I think his power numbers will even go up this year as he's getting a little bit bigger and stronger.
now and I mean this may be me talking, but I think last year too. Yeah, I think last year too. Like you mentioned, having a sophomore slump. I'm going to maybe it's not a hot take, maybe it is. I'm going to say he's not going to have a sophomore slump because he started the season off. What was it? 0 for 15 with 14 balls at 112 miles per hour, just lined right at people, and then He had that little 2 week spell in the end of August and then was fine. So I think he'll be fine. I don't see any slump coming.
I don't either.
Ryan, you picked your guy as
Jerks and
always.
profile.
You picked his guy.
Ryan picked jerks and profile.
Don't disrespect me like that, Benjamin. Don't disrespect me. We went big, thick Austin Riley. And hear me out, chat. I know, look, I get the argument for Ronnie. I get the argument for Matt Olson and Baldwin. Look, you can't go wrong with any of them. But I just want you guys to remember when the Braves offense was last effective. It was the last year Austin Riley was Austin Riley. And for the Braves to get back to where they want to be, this dude has to play 140, 150 games, and he's got to be that MVP caliber third baseman that we know and love. And kind of the point with Olson, there's not many third basemen out there that you can go pluck off a tree that are going to replace this dude. I mean, Nacho Alvarez was our replacement at third base last year, and he did fine, but he was not Austin Riley's production, and
He wasn't even hurt Austin Riley's production.
Correct. Austin Riley, I think, put up a 740 OPS hurt last year, and people were complaining about that. So imagine a healthy Austin Riley. With the adjustments he's made, it's hard pressed for me not to brag on my boy. So I'm picking Austin Riley.
Can I give you an amazing Austin Riley stat? And that I think I've shared with y'all through messages. There's called the heat map streak, how much a player means to a team. And the heat map for a hitter is 900 OPS or higher. In the games that Austin's in one of his heat streaks of 3 games or more, and Aaron Judge, the Yankees win 64% of their games that when he's in his heat streak. The Braves win almost 70% of their games when Austin's in one of his streaks. And that's the reason why Austin's still the highest paid Brave at $22 million a year, is because the Braves see that. The Braves are a different team when that guy is slugging and feeling good. He opens up the whole lineup, and they win at a 70% clip. And guys, just to do the math on that, that's a 112 win season. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It
We'll
ain't
pick.
bad.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, kind of a follow up question to it. Who's the biggest catalyst to push this team back to being a World Series contender? Me, Ryan, and Jose all picked Austin Riley, and I think it's for those reasons exactly. And you go back and you look at the 21 highlights. Eddie Rosario and Austin Riley. I mean, those were your clutch hits. Adam Duvall, we obviously know about that. Travis d'Arnaud had a couple homers, but the walk-offs against the Dodgers on back-to-back nights, the homers and everything with Riley, I just think in the postseason, the way he handled it and has handled it, I think Austin Riley, and kind of to what Ryan said, basically, just you get Austin Riley back, you go.
100%, man. There's a reason why they paid him the big contract. I know everybody likes to shit on Riley and because he is the highest paid player and he struggled the last 2 years because he was hurt. But I want you guys to remember is he was still an above average player.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard to do when you don't have your core. Like, apparently his core was absolutely shredded when they went into surgery. So, and he was still putting up league average to slightly above league average numbers. And we all know what he can do. He's a 900 OPS guy when he is fully ready to rock and roll.
We knew he was strong, but we didn't know he was shredded.
Don't be lame.
Some of the women know he's shredded.
All right,
Yeah, his wife knows. Just come on, bro. All the rails.
Jose, your reasonings.
I mean, pretty much what we already said about Austin Riley. Like, it just feels like when Austin Riley is on, the whole Braves lineup just flows so much better. Like, just having him in the hot corner, man. His defense, I will say, underrated, in my opinion. And just when he's on fully healthy, it's just a different Braves team. Like we were saying, or like you guys said just a few minutes ago, last time we saw Austin Riley fully healthy, what, 2024, 23, 23.
23.
Yeah,
Yeah,
23.
and we all know what happened in 23, except for the end of the season. We don't have to talk about that. It's just Austin Riley, man. He is a spark plug. That's the best way I can say it. He's one of the spark plugs in this lineup. When he's on, it makes everyone else better. 100%.
It's kind of funny how we also call Ronald the spark plug, but when you have a core of guys who can perform like they do, I feel like everybody's a spark plug.
Pretty much.
um,
Hitting's contagious, man.
But
it is.
Jeb, how can you call Austin Riley a core guy when he doesn't have a core?
He does now. It's fixed.
There we go. See, that works. You can call him core.
There you go, Jeb. That was the right time for it.
Wow, Ben, you have a child, and now just the dad jokes just keep
Hey, that
pouring
dad
in.
joke was better than the whatever AI slop you brought out was.
AI
um,
slop is crazy.
um, Ben, you said Aussie Albies,
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna touch on it just a tad. I see it, I feel like Aussie's the little engine that could, I feel like if he's going, he to me is one of those guys that kind of gets everything started. Like if they are in a slump and, he hits a double off the wall or something, I feel like he is one of the kick starters to get them out of those slumps.
Yeah. Oh, you're done. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I think Ozzy it really is just a spark plug on this team. I think the only downside for Austin, in my opinion, is he doesn't have the hype, hype man type attitude or mentality. Austin is very much lead by example kind of guy, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But Ozzy is one of the, leaders in the clubhouse. He knows how to talk to guys like Ronald who are just hype and ready to go and full of energy, high energy guys. But he also knows how to talk to guys like Matt Olson, guys like Austin Riley, who come across a lot more quiet and not necessarily reserved, but like I said, more of a lead by example kind of guy. And I think Ozzy um, is one of the biggest leaders in that clubhouse for that reason exactly. And when he's playing good, I mean, he brings in an energy to this team that hardly anybody else can. You'll have him if he can get back to mashing lefties like he has in his career. I can see him being a 25 homer guy again, and that's something that the Braves sorely need out of him is being a 25 homer guy 270 batting average, and being able to drive in, 80 to 90 runs from that second base position with 30 doubles. If he does that, man, this team will go.
Yeah. Last and not certainly not least, we've got Ken and a little off the wall, but Michael Harris. Ken, please let us know about this one.
Well, to piggyback a little bit on Ben, I like to see the team with a lot of injuries, energy, and Michael Harris is the one guy who shows the most energy on the field. Him and Ozzy. Ozzy's happy, but Michael, even in his slump, when he makes some of those great catches like that, he just exudes energy and the team feeds off of it. And the reason why the question is who's the biggest catalyst to push us to the World Series contender? I expect great years out of most of them. I want to see Michael have a full year. We've seen second half Michael, and when second half Michael's engaged, that's what you get is just five tool, one of the best players in the game. And when he's raking, it's like CJ said last year when he finally turned it around, he is almost, you can't get him out. because even if he mishits the ball, he finds a way to he can turn something down the line into a double at any point. And I think if he's feeling good and he puts a whole year together for the Braves, you're telling me if Michael ends up 25 to 30 home runs and he ends up being a 280 instead of a 240 for a year hitter, not this 190, 200 first half and this 330 in the second half. If he puts together a 280 to 300 batting average, you don't think this team is going to take off? I mean, it will be one of the most vaunted lineups, whether you bat him in the 9 hole where y'all love to hit him or anywhere in that lineup. And if he has the year that I know he's capable of having, we always talk about it, is you could bat him anywhere in the lineup and he's going to be rolling. So, yes, I'm going with Michael Harris as the guy that if he has the monster year, there's no way the Braves don't make the playoffs and have a chance to go to the World Series.
Real quick, that highlight with Kyle Wright pitching kind of just breaks my heart.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Real quick, I mean, we got a couple more questions, and then we can get some final thoughts and closing out. What are we expecting from this group? What is the ultimate goal for this hitting core of the team? And I'll go first. It's staying healthy. Number one. Number two, it's putting up consistent at bats. Number three, and I think this is really the big one. You have guys like Riley and Olson and Ozzy who have Grand Teton high peaks, but then they've got, below sea level valleys. I think if we can try to get it to, an even kind of even or even just kind of shorten those blips, I think that is one of the big things to that will help this team. Another thing, uh, hitting with runners in scoring position is also, when you get a leadoff triple, more than likely you want to drive that run in.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I don't think they were cheering themselves for leaving leadoff runners on third stranded.
No, I hope
If
not.
they were, we got bigger problems, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah. That Weiss can't fix. I'll go next here. I expect if I had the ultimate goal, if I'm Tim Hires, if we have 250 home runs and 250 doubles as a team, we're going to be maybe the best, second best, or at least top three offense in the National League. And that as a hitting group gets us into the playoffs. And I also would like to get into the top five in walks. We're a team that can do that. And I want to be in the bottom half. I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on them. Bottom half of strikeouts. I think if you accomplish those four goals as a hitting group, you're not 2023 Braves, but you're pretty close. And that team can't be beat by most teams in baseball. And it's going to be a lot of fun nights in Truist and on the road. So I think that's what I'm expecting out of this group. As I said, I think the ceiling is great where it's always been, but I do think the floor has been raised. And so even if a player has a day off, I do expect that the guys like Mauricio Dubon, Ben Gamble, Eli White, if it's Don Smith, any of those should be able to step in and help this ball team achieve those goals.
I'm about to head off, so I'm going to give my final thoughts on
Please
this.
do. Please do.
Yeah, so I agree wholeheartedly. We gotta see continued improvement. The last month or so of the season last year, Tim Hires really had these guys swinging good sticks, and really selective at the plate and waiting on their pitches to drive. And I think that by the time everybody bought into what Tim Hires was teaching, it was too little, too late, which was very unfortunate in a sense. And I'm not saying that these guys don't take coaching well. I'm saying these guys had certain aspects of their stances and their swings that had worked for them for years before this and were hesitant to change because they knew that they had been working well in the past. Um, and I think Tim Hires finally broke through to him. And I think having Chipper, there's an old saying that says those who can't teach, but I think Chipper might be one of the what am I looking? What's the word I'm looking for?
Anomalous.
Outliers.
Anomalous.
Yeah, outlier to that rule. I think Chipper can get in there and really talk hitting to these guys and really talk it in a way that they're going to understand and it'll click with them. And I think that with somebody like that of his stature, I mean, dude's first ballot Hall of Famer, the accolades go on and on. I think that will really help this team in the long run. And I don't think it'll take them until mid-May to get going like it has the past couple of years. And like I said, those are my final thoughts. I appreciate it, and I got to head out. Daddy duty calls.
See you, Ben.
That was Ben Weaver, Weaver Cards on Twitter. Ryan, what you got?
I have one thing that I want these guys to do. I don't care about stats. I don't care about anything else. I want them to not do too much at the plate, and I want them to be themselves because I think that's going to take care of the rest of it. There's too much in the past where you can see these guys are pressing and trying to do way too much at the plate instead of just staying within themselves and what they are and who they are. I think if they do that, I think everything else is going to fall right into place. That's it.
Jose?
For me, I 100% agree with Ryan. I feel like staying within themselves is one of the most important things, if not the most. However, just to say something different, health, obviously, staying healthy. However, a little bit beyond that, longevity. We all want to see the 2023 type offense or as good of an offense as possible, but that's no good if the team kind of the fire burns out in September or injuries or whatever, and then you can't do anything in October. I want to see longevity, take a couple days off if needed during the season, whenever possible, whatever needs to be done, so that if the guys are fresh, they're ready to go in October.
Can I piggyback off of that, Jose? I think it's excellent. I know one of the questions we asked was we were talking about pregame was what's the one thing other than health that can prevent us from our goals? That's the reason why I'd like to see this team. The one thing that can bring them is a slow start. What you saw in 24 and then 22 and 23 especially. I think they ran out of gas in 23 and 22 because they had to play so hard to catch up. We cannot have this catch up thing where we're below 500 come June 1st. I want to say I'm not Ryan. I'm not putting numbers, but if your ultimate goal is to be good and be steady, let's get off to a good start. We went as a group. We've talked about their first 50 games are not as dangerous as our first 7 last year, but it's pretty tough. And if we somehow can come out of that first 50, 30 and 20, 28 and 22, watch out. Because we won't be pressing to try to get back in, and that burns you out in the Atlanta sun. We know that. So I think the one thing that can prevent us from reaching our goals is if we get off to another slow start. And that's the reason why I love seeing what we're seeing this spring. The team seems focused. The team seems ready. They're playing with fire, and they're pushing each other. And I think you're going to get the number one squad coming out when they meet Kansas City on March 27th. Be ready to play.
Yep. Anybody have a final thought?
I'm just ready for baseball, man.
Yeah, let's kick the Phillies and Mets ass. So I can say ass.
I am I'm ready for Team USA to kick the DR's ass, but
Yeah, in your dreams, buddy.
yeah, we'll have our little banter about that on here, but
Go Venezuela.
yeah. Next
I
week,
see I'm just surrounded by haters, guys. For those of you who don't know, I am a proud Dominican, born in the DR. Been here in Atlanta since I was 7. I'm full on Team Dominican Republic, baby. We're going all the way. We're going to the championship. we're gonna win the whole damn thing.
Amen. Amen. Next week, we will be going over the pitching side of things. So look out for that. If you've made it this far, please like, comment, subscribe, share it with everybody. We've got some big news coming up that we're still working a little bit behind the scenes, but we're wanting to get out a little bit more and get you guys the content that you guys deserve. So yeah. So get ready to expect a big year from us this year, and that's all I got. We'll catch y'all in the next one. Ryan, you're trash.
Landed right on the shoulder.
Hawk tour.
Yeah. Let's do it again.